You're probably scrolling through a dozen gaming laptops right now, wondering which one actually lives up to the hype and which one will sit in a drawer after a few weeks because it just didn't fit your setup. It's a real pain to drop a few $1,000s on a machine that looks great on paper but feels like a compromise when you try to actually game, stream, or just use it for everyday work. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I'm going to walk through why the Alienware 16 Aurora might be the right or wrong choice for you. First off, the Aurora is marketed as an instant gratification laptop, and that's not just marketing fluff. The combination of a 12th Gen Intel Core i7-1240H and an RTX 5050 gives you a level of raw horsepower that most mid-range laptops can't touch. In practice, that means you can crank up settings in titles like Cyberpunk 2077 or Elden Ring and still stay above 60 frames per second on the 16-inch WQXGA panel. The 120Hz refresh rate is high enough to make those frames feel fluid, and the 100% sRGB coverage means colors stay vibrant whether you're gaming or editing photos. But raw power isn't the only thing that matters. One of the biggest concerns for gamers who also need a portable workstation is screen real estate versus battery life. The 2560160 display on a 16-inch chassis looks gorgeous, but the 300 nit brightness isn't a blockbuster figure for bright rooms. In a sunny coffee shop, you'll likely need to crank up the backlight, which will drain the battery faster. If you plan to game mostly in a dimly lit bedroom or a controlled indoor environment, the display shines. If you need a laptop that can double as a daytime office machine, you might feel a little shortchanged. Storage and memory are another practical area where the Aurora makes a statement. The 16GB of DDR5 RAM paired with a 512GB PCIe SSD means loading times are snappy and multitasking feels smooth. In real-world use, I've opened a web browser with dozens of tabs, launched a game, and streamed on OBS without any hiccups. However, the 512GB capacity can fill up quickly if you keep several large AAA games installed at once. You'll probably need an external drive or a quick upgrade to a larger SSD down the line, which isn't a deal-breaker but something to budget for. Connectivity is often overlooked until you actually need it, and the Aurora provides a decent mix. Two USB-A 3.2 Gen 1 ports and a USB-C 3.2 Gen 2 port give you enough bandwidth for a mouse, headset, and an external monitor without resorting to a hub. The downside is the lack of an HDMI 2.1 port, so if you want to hook the laptop up to a 4K TV for couch gaming, you'll need a USB-C to HDMI adapter. It's a small inconvenience, but it adds an extra piece to your setup that you might not have expected. Now, let's talk about the keyboard and overall feel. The white backlit keys are a nice visual touch, especially if you like a clean aesthetic that stands out from the typical black gaming laptops. The key travel is decent, and the layout is standard, which makes long typing sessions for Discord chats or code reviews comfortable. The trade-off is that the keyboard sits a bit higher on the chassis, which can feel cramped if you have smaller hands. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's worth trying out in the store if you can. Thermals are always a hot topic for high-performance laptops, and the Aurora does a respectable job. The cooling system keeps the CPU and GPU temperatures in a manageable range during 2-hour gaming marathons, and the fans stay at a tolerable noise level louder than a quiet room, but not as aggressive as some other Alienware models that scream under load. If you're sensitive to fan noise while streaming or recording, you might notice a slight hum, but it doesn't drown out your voice chat. Who should actually consider buying this machine? If you're a serious gamer who also dabbles in content creation, think recording gameplay, streaming, or editing video on the side, the combination of a strong GPU, fast DDR5 RAM, and a high-resolution 120Hz screen gives you a solid all-in-one solution. The laptop size makes it portable enough to take to a LAN party, and the performance is enough to future-proof you for the next generation of games for at least a couple of years. It also appeals to creative professionals who need color-accurate screens for photo work but still want the ability to run demanding 3D software. On the flip side, if you're looking for a budget-friendly gaming laptop, the Aurora's price point is on the higher side, and you might get more bang for your buck with a 15-inch model that offers similar specs but a lower price tag. Likewise, if you primarily need a laptop for office work, school, or casual indie gaming, the extra GPU muscle and the premium display may be overkill. The limited battery life when the screen is cranked up and the relatively modest 300 nit brightness.